Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine, Krnjetin, and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
Hey Jasmine, I'm excited about this episode. It's a little personal for me in this episode in that we talk about selling my own primary residence.
Yes, and you're a very special client.
Yeah.
It was super fun to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit, because I feel like people hear you talk about, your real estate success and investor stuff. And I think it's going to be fun to peel the curtain back a little bit and let people see what kind of stuff happens when you get personal and start dealing with your own deal.
I have no problem selling my own investment properties. There's no emotional attachment. This one is, I sold my primary, and we interview Land of Fine Homes finest, Jennifer Waddy, who was the agent representing the buyer of my own transaction. And, it's a little bit different when I'm the one who has to pack the boxes. I'm the one that has, my wife and I have to keep the house clean. We've got to interrupt our life, take the dog out for showings. It makes me, realize what we put our clients through when I have to do it myself. And it's my own lifestyle that's being disrupted in life. And it's not just an investment property that I'm not attached to and doesn't really affect me in any way, if kind of thing. So it was interesting to go through that process. I thought I learned a lot as a client of myself in many regards.
Right. So tell me a little bit about I find that sometimes the seller, in this case, you were the seller, has a bit of an emotional attachment, entanglement with the home. And I think this is a home that you actually designed and built yourself, right? How many years ago did you build this home?
8 years.
8 years ago. Yeah. And so you kind of had like an emotional attachment, like all your kids were born in the house, give or take, right? So what did you glean about that part of it? Because sometimes I think we forget that the sellers have so many attachments to their homes.
Well, to be fair, my wife probably had more of those attachments. Whenever I build something, I build to be like, let's sell this. And I want to sell it in 2 years and go do it again. I enjoy the process of buying and building and moving in some regards, because I look at everything as an investment lens. But I think I fully appreciated once I left, and I was like, oh, okay, so we really are giving up walks to certain parks and coffee shops. That was such a big part of our life, and now we're recreating new coffee shops and new park memories. So it feels like it makes me think that our clients are either opening up, they're opening new chapters, right? You're closing one chapter and opening a new one. Sometimes you're closing a chapter because you of positive things, and you want to open up a new chapter because you're in a new chapter of your life, and new job, new city, or whatever it is that our clients have. And also our clients are sometimes closing bad chapters. Possibly it's a divorce situation, a death situation. They've lost their job, whatever, and they have to close a chapter and start new, not because of their choice, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think it makes me, I was definitely well aware that this is a positive move for us, and thankfully it was, because it had its own stressors, even in a positive situation, and to really be cognizant that, wow, if this is a bad chapter, all these stressors are going to be amplified for our clients as well.
So I was noticing one thing about for me, selling my primary residence, similarly to yours, moving on has not been that big of a deal. I guess I'm not very attached to stuff in general. So yes, a home, but I always feel like a home, is wherever I make it, kind of thing. But I was talking to my interior designer, and where I had to draw the line was our dining room table. Like, I was like, every single one of my kids' birthdays, every cake, every meal, everything has happened at this dining room table. I will not give up this dining room table. So I found my spot. I was like, this is the center. This is home for me. And this one table represents everything.
So you're saying as long as that's in any house, then
we're good. We're good. It's, okay. As long as I keep that, I've got the center of my home with me.
Yes. Nice. I love it. So so in this episode, we talked to Jennifer Waddy, who's a top agent, been in the business for a long time here in Atlanta, and she got very creative, very, very creative in order to win a bidding war on my own personal house. So it was an exciting process. We're going to dig deep to learn techniques I promise you haven't heard, you haven't used, and you haven't seen before. And that's what she did to differentiate herself to have the winning offer on my house. So we're going to dig deep into Jennifer Waddy. We did have a lot of technical internet issues throughout this, so there might be some pieced together parts, especially on our YouTube channel, which is Agent Upgrade Podcast on YouTube, as we try to patch together the videos. But Stephanie Fuccio, our wonderful editor, has done a wonderful job to make this very listenable on the podcast format as well. So shout out to Stephanie for overcoming a lot of internet issues we had during this recording, but it was worth saving because there's such great golden nuggets. So let's get started. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Alan and Jasmine.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on. We've done recently did a transaction here in Atlanta, one that's very personal to me. I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, but I recently sold my primary residence. And didn't know if you recall, Jennifer, how that sort of, you were ended up being the buying agent, representing the clients who bought my home in a bidding war. And you had some great tactics that we want to get into. But before that even started, do you remember how we started communicating on this potential purchase?
Yeah, I knew my clients. I knew what they were looking for, which neighborhood, the style of home, and there's nothing on the market in Atlanta right now. You really have to be creative. So I pulled up Oakhurst and some surrounding neighborhoods, and I literally, instead of looking for active listings because there were none, I went through and I tried to look at all the listing agents, like who really, had hold of that neighborhood, who had a lot of transactions in that area, and the type of home that they liked. And your name was one of the ones that continued to pop up. So you and maybe about 10 others, I started calling, just asking if they had anything coming soon. And lo and behold, you did. And it was your own home.
Yeah, I remember getting an email. I had a listing. It was a single-family house in the neighborhood you're looking in. It had a ADU unit, which is an accessory dwelling unit, an apartment above the detached garage in the backyard. And I got an email from you. Maybe we've talked before, but it was an email that said, "Hey, this listing that you have under contract right now, are you listing another house exactly like this? Because this is what my clients want." Which is an unusual request. Like how often do you have a listing that's very similar to the one that you just got under contract? And I was like, well, why, yes, I do. I haven't told anyone, but I'm going to be listing my own house down the street, which has the exact same parameters as this listing that's currently under contract. And so I shared some photos with you. I'm listing this next week, and you were. I took it that you were excited about the home. I found out later that you were pushing and rushing because you were going out of town, right?
Yeah, maybe going to Italy for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so you're going to Italy, but you didn't let me know that. You were like, "Oh, my clients need to get in right away. My clients need to get in right away," because you're going to Italy for 2 weeks. And so just for agents listening here who are like, "I've got clients that, I can't find anything. Everything gets scooped up." You were being proactive and emailing agents in the neighborhood that have similar listings, things that are already under contract. Do you have something else coming like this? Which I thought that was an unusual technique. And obviously, at the end of the story, this paid off for you in some regards. But then I was like, great, you've got excited clients. They want to see it right away. and you were really pushing to try to get in before I listed, but we compromised, and I said, the house is just not ready. The cleaners are coming, and all this stuff, But you and your clients were the very, very first ones to see it the second it listed. And that's me. Whenever I'm representing, this is my own home, but whenever I'm representing other agents, clients as their agent, I'm like, the people who are rushing to see this the second it gets listed, those are the buyers who are most excited about the home. The first one that gets the offer in, they're the ones who are probably going to pay top dollar. They're all their actions are showing that they want this home. Is that sort of how you see it as well, Jennifer?
In our market, we see buyer needs come out all the time, and I feel like we just kind of hardly read them. So I felt like when I called you, let's not waste any time. Let's be very specific. This is specifically what I'm looking for. And, the old adage is true, strike when the iron's hot. My buyers, they knew exactly what they wanted. They wanted it right then and there. And, had I gone to Italy and said, I'll pick this up when I come back into town, they might not have been wanting to buy. We would have clearly missed your home. In this market, you cannot rest. You have to push every single day.
I agree.
And so when you say we see buyer needs, you mean like the emails that come through, hey, my buyer's looking for this?
Yeah. I mean, I get 15 of them a day, and I think you really have to, an agent can read it, but until you personally call or email an agent and really make a connection with that agent and get them thinking, they may not even realize it until you start talking to them.
Then obviously you were first ones to see it, first ones to make the offer. And just because you reached out to me early doesn't mean you get the home. And so you also crafted a winning offer. And I'm curious how you navigated that in your conversations with your client, because it had some unusual stipulations in it that really made it stand out.
Yeah, well, in our new contracts, the ones that have been out for a couple of years, I haven't seen any agents use it, but there's that earnest money and then there's option money. But my clients buying your home, they didn't have any additional option money to put out, coming up with that down payment, getting all their funds together, and they were going to be maxed out. So I'm like, okay, what can I do to create option money? What can I do? I called it my pick me money. Like, what can I do to make sure that Alan Corey doesn't go and even entertain another offer? We got to lock this up. And, I thought out of the box. So when my clients, when they made it clear that this is the home they wanted, in this market, going to Italy or not going to Italy, I couldn't risk someone else coming in and looking at this home. I did not want to risk a bidding war. So, in our new contracts, we have option money under earnest money. My clients did not have any more cash available to put up option money, like that pick me money that's non-refundable. It's for the seller. So my job was to come up with how can I create option money of my own. And I did it a couple of different ways in case one way didn't appeal to you. I was going to get you from either angle. And one was immediately writing in our stipulations that you didn't have to pay me a 3% commission. I was happy with 2%. And, I hate putting this on a podcast because we as agents, we all work very hard for our money. And I'm not at all saying that we should start cutting our commission to get these deals done. But when you have a client that has purchased 7 properties from you over 10 years, that refers you 2 or 3 leads a year, I think it comes time that you owe that client, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to get this property for you. You've been good to me. So I wrote that in the special stipulations so that all parties could see it. And then I also knew that we would be listing their house. So in our offer, we made sure that we talked about reducing the commission to 2%, just to make it, that puts more money in the seller's pocket to where, we could have kept raising our price, but in this market, to offer additional $20,000 in price, we have to worry about appraisals and things like that. So we had to come up with a way that puts more money in the seller's pocket, but that's not going to affect financing or appraisal. And so that's why I felt reducing the commission would be a good way to do that. And then on top of that, my clients needed to sell their home. And in this market, no one's going to take an offer if a home has to be sold first. But again, I needed to do something that would make it appealing, to make it worth your while to take us. So in the special stipulations, I also wrote, upon my clients listing their home, a referral fee would be paid out to the listing agent, and in this case, you. Again, it's just another sweet bonus to say, look, if you pick us and give us some time and trust that we're going to make sure this closes, we're going to make this worth your while.
Yeah, so that's first, you've got a great offer to begin with had an escalation clause. You're reducing the commission on the sale of the property. You're providing a referral on the sale of the client's property. It wasn't contingent. It wasn't at least the contract, it wasn't contingent on the sale of their property, but you were just saying, hey, by the way, we got to sell this property. And then you also said, Alan, we will use whatever mortgage lender you want on top of that, which was like, that was just a sigh of relief for me, because it's like, can these people get it done? I want to accept this offer. And of course, I recommended Jasmine, co-host, and JasmineTeam.com to write up the pre-approval letter and make sure that they can actually afford the home. And, when I get a pre-qualification or pre-approval from Jasmine, that's as good as cash, and we did have some cash offers. And so that also stood up as another perk. And as a seller and not just an agent in that situation, like, one, you're reaching out before I listed. Two, you're reaching out and saying, we want to be the first ones in. We want to be the first ones in. Three, hey, here's an amazing offer with an escalation clause. Four, we're going to use your lender. Five, they're going to sell their house to buy yours anyway, because they're not going to have two homes, half a mile apart from each other. And we'll give you a referral commission on that. It was just like cherry on top of, sprinkles and everything on top of the offer. And I was like, Jennifer's putting in an offer here. She's in it to win it for her clients. And I was just very impressed by it all. Okay.
So what I thought was super fascinating, because I'm sitting here on the sidelines kind of watching all this go down, is I loved how you took what some would perceive maybe a disadvantage, where this client had a home that they were selling, and it's something from the listing agent's perspective, it's kind of maybe a negative, like, hey, they've got this home that they're trying to sell, kind of thing. And you took that, and all of a sudden psychologically you hooked Alan into rooting for you to sell that house. Now all of a sudden it became a plus, like, hey, shit, I really want her to sell this house, because now all of a sudden it's something that he emotionally got tied into, psychologically got tied into. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing, because I have not seen that on another contract before. And it was just, it was a complete game changer, because all of a sudden now everybody was bought into our clients buying the home, selling the home, all the transactions, happy. And they did end up really happy, and still are. They love their freaking home. They're super happy.
It got me invested. It got me invested in the dominoes. I started sending out stuff to other real estate agents that say, "Hey, this house is coming to the market. Talk to Jennifer Waddy," kind of thing. It's not even my listing, and they're like, "Why is Alan so invested in another brokerage's house?"
I absolutely love that. So that was super brilliant, Jennifer. We were talking about you behind your back. We're like, this girl knows her stuff. Like, we see a lot of contracts come through. We're like, she's good.
Well, it's funny. It was the first time I had ever done that. And it was just genuinely sitting back and thinking, what can I do? This market is crazy. What can I do to really, show how much we want the home, and just all pull together to make it a win for everybody. And, I do think, offering that bonus on the listing, I will keep that in my back pocket and consider that in the future, because in this market, if someone's got a home to sell or they're not cash, you're sifting through those offers, and you're not even looking at them. And I think we need to start looking at them and realizing that, not everyone's cash. And yes, people do have homes to sell because they live in them. Did
your clients recognize the Herculean effort that it took to win this, and the sacrifices you did, and that your extra effort got it done?
They did at the time, for sure. But clients can often forget, they did recently sell a house without an agent, or I think somebody, she was like a part-time agent, and I was not involved in that. So that was a bit of a shock, but they're listing another investment property that they have in Gresham Park, and I'll be listing that for them. I mean, I am their go-to agent. But yeah, I mean, I think they absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I think these sort of uniqueness of the deal is what it takes. You have to be a creative agent, and it's stories like this that I wish. Like, there's so much hatred of real estate agents a lot of times online, and it's like realtors do nothing. All they do is open doors, and whatever. And it's like, these are the stories I want to share with those people and say, this is what it takes. This is why you have a real estate agent. You would not have bought this house because there was 8 other offers who had real estate agents. Well, some of them were sort of the iBuyer, two maybe were Redfin and such. But there's a reason why you got this house, and it was because you had a good real estate agent. Like, people sometimes just don't recognize that.
So I think from my end, what I saw was basically an agent that I had not worked with before, and so Jennifer came to me and she said, okay, we're willing to do whatever it takes to get this deal, right? And I kind of have this funny thing that, like, I have like this internal censor, right? When I talk to a client and they tell me like, this is my home, like, I immediately know, like, this is their home, right? Like, there is some clients that you just talk to and all of a sudden it's like, okay, so I was on the phone with Alan and he's like, I've got this cash offer, but I really like these buyers, and what should we do, kind of a conversation. And I was like, Alan, I don't know. This is their home, dude. Like, I don't think there was anything to do but make this thing come together. And the clients were willing to do whatever. So I think that that's also another piece to the story, was that these clients were, I was texting with you, Jennifer, while you were in Rome, and you were like, hey, I'm leaving them in your hands. You do your thing, right? And we were like, so everybody was really, really, really invested in making this come together. And it would have been a lot more challenging if the clients would have been like, we kind of sort of like this house. Let's see how it goes. We're kind of willing to pull out and protect our earnest money at the first sign of something maybe not working out. And so I think that's really important as agents to kind of hear those or notice and see those signs from your buyers. Like, if the buyers are getting cold feet, maybe that's not the right house for them. But when you have a client that's just like, dude, this is my home, like, then just go. That's green lights all the way. Pull out all the stops, all the cherries on top, whatever it takes to get the deal done, right?
You're right. And I always think, you have to pay attention to your clients, what they're saying, their body language, and either they're pulling back or they're pushing forward. And they were pushing forward. I mean, they were going to camp out on that porch. They were like, we want to talk to Alan. We want to, and I think the big thing about it is it's trust. It's trusting that they have the right person working for them. It's me trusting them. They're trusting me. If you don't have trust in this business, you're not going to get deals done. You're going to be transactional, and you're just going to wear yourself out as an agent, being a transactional agent. It's just no way to do this business.
I feel like we have just given you guys a case study and a short story of what it takes to win in today's market. I feel like we've given you some tools, something fun to look at, but I really want to kind of go behind the scenes. And, Jennifer, you did not just, you did not just join this game. Like, you have been at this for a long time. You have a lot of experience. So let's just kind of hear a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get into real estate? And I just want to kind of hear the making of this amazing real estate woman. Like, what is it that what is it that it took to get you to a place where you can be this amazing rock star?
That's very, very sweet and very kind of you. I have been doing this almost 22 years. I think I got into the business several years ago when I ran a landscape design firm down in Eagles Landing, back when Henry County had the big boom. And goodness, I think I looked around and I watched these real estate agents doing this job. And it wasn't that I looked at them and said, this is easy, I can do this, because that's what most people think. It's easy and you can do this. But it was me looking and saying, this looks easy. And these agents don't even seem to care about the clients that they're working for. And that's what grabbed my attention. And, you can pull me up and look at my history over the past 20 years. I've never been a number one agent. It's not my goal to be number one. It's not my goal to have 35, 40 transactions a year. It's not my goal to do 40 million in volume a year. It's my goal to truly, play matchmaker, find homes for buyers and sellers, and, be remembered as, helping someone find a home. And I know it sounds very cliche and silly, but that is truly why I do it. And I've built my business on that. I work strictly by referral. My brokers and my managing brokers flip out because I do zero marketing. But I don't want to. I don't want to have a big team to manage things.
Well, so that's ultimate compliment that a client uses you 7 times in 10 years.
Yes, it is an ultimate compliment, and even more so when they're referring you to their friends. I mean, these clients literally shout my name from the rooftops. They go above and beyond, making sure that their friends and family use me. So, like I said, it was my time to say thank you back.
Yeah, no, that and it worked. It worked for you. So, what do you do outside to kind of keep in touch with your clients, make sure that they're so invested with you? Because I know a lot of agents will just do a transaction and there's no follow up or thank you or checking in. Like, to build these super strong relationships, what are you doing in between or post transaction?
It's crazy. It doesn't cost a dime. I call them regularly. I just stay in touch, and so many agents don't do it. It's so easy when you're in the car. Just go through your phone, call everybody, stay in touch. Make sure you know what's going on in everyone's lives and that they know you care. Don't sell them ever, never. I never sell anybody anything.
So you'll call them and just say, hey, how are you doing? How are the kids and the dogs and everything? And you're checking in on the house, or there's no sales pitch.
Just be genuine. How are things working out? Do you like it? I mean, if you're salesy, people are going to pick up on that. Everyone's smart. And like I said, it's not my goal to sell. It's my goal to make sure that they're happy, because if they're happy, they're going to remember me. They're going to refer me. But yeah, I don't do mailings. I don't do anything that the typical agent does. I call people and stay in touch or text. It's so easy. We all have a phone.
Yeah.
I think that people are just afraid to use it. I mean, they're not afraid to look at their phones and scroll through Insta feed, but I think a lot of people are just so afraid of picking up the phone or yeah, I don't know why. There's a lot of call reluctance, and I always keep going back to, like, I think if that's like the number one thing that we get like new agents to do is just get used to, like, human contact, picking up the phone.
It's fear of rejection. But something that really helped me a while back, if we're all afraid of being rejected and what they're going to say to us, then that means the second we call them, that call's all about us, because we're worried about how they're going to react to us. But if we turn it and we're genuinely calling them, checking in on them, because you genuinely care about them, there should be no fear. You should not be nervous about that. So I just think it's a way to look at that call.
Well, that's a really good way to think about it, because it's not about you, it's about them, and then therefore if they want to get off the phone, that's fine. Like, no feelings hurt. If they want to chat for 30 minutes, that's fine. Like, it's all about them. I think that's a good approach. And to piggyback off Jasmine's comment, yeah, I get new agents all the time saying, what do I say? Like, hey, I've got this new client and they want XYZ in XYZ area, but I have nothing to send them, and I haven't had anything to send them for 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, call them and check in. They're like, well, what do I say? I don't have anything. We just call them and say, you don't have anything. Like, they think you're not doing any work because they haven't heard from you. You need to call them and say, I've been doing this work and I still don't have anything for you. Maybe we need to adjust our criteria, or maybe we need to have a little bit more patience. but they need to hear from you that you're doing something, even more so if you have nothing to send them, because you're a ghost at this point, and they're just going to call another real estate.
I mean, perfect example. I called a couple last week, and we've been looking for 4 months. I've sent out buyer needs. I've called agents. I've texted, 45 agents a personal direct text message. But I called my clients because we're so desperate to give them a property. Here's something off market coming soon, and I just shot them a text, and I said, I just want you to know I'm still trying. I wish I had a property to send you. I'm happy to send you a bottle of wine because that's all I've got for you at this moment. And they just giggled and said, it's all good. We'll take the wine. Keep looking. And we're a team. They just got to know you haven't forgotten about them.
Absolutely.
I like the bottle of wine reference. I know you're not an alcoholic, but our closing, it was stressful. It was up to the last minute. I know Jasmine was working, late hours and weekends, making sure the deals got done too. We're dealing with all sorts of moving parts, the domino of them selling their house, the domino of me buying the next house, and I needed all these other dominoes fall. And you're like, we need a drink after this. But it was a celebratory drink, not that was stressful and terrible drink. And you brought some sort of cocktails to the closing party or the closing table. I was like, yeah, I wanted. It
was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was these little mini cans of some little gin and tonic cocktail. It was festive. I think the attorney was mortified. I'd never used her before.
I was like, it makes me want to do more deals with you, Jennifer. So yeah.
It's funny. I used to always bring a bottle of non-alcoholic champagne to closings, and I would bring these plastic champagne glasses, right? And I would just walk in and I would set it in the middle of the table, and inevitably the closing attorney would grab it and look at it. He's like, "This is non-alcoholic, right?" Just to make sure that his buyers are not signing while under the influence. I was like, I got you. It's non-alcoholic. It's just fun. Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, that part never crossed my mind about signing a contract drunk.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I think going back to our original conversation about the phone calls and chatting with your clients, one thing that the way I prepare myself mentally, if I have a list of my, this week I'm calling my top 25 VIP clients, just to check in, I genuinely get into this mindset where I'm like, they're going to be uplifted by our conversation. When they hang up after talking to me, they're going to feel just a little bit better. Right. And so I kind of psychologically get into this place where I'm like, the reason I'm calling these people is because I genuinely feel they're going to be slightly better off after we're finished with this conversation. And then the barrier, similar, it's kind of like another mind trick, kind of to what you were saying. But to piggyback off of that idea, I also, I had a chat a couple of weeks ago, I had a chat with my CPA, and I kind of think of mortgage bankers, CPAs. We're similar, relatively boring. We talk about numbers. There's not that much exciting to talk about, right? But by the time I got off the phone with him, I had gotten the answers to the things that were really critical. What do I do with this LLC? What do I blah, 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 blah. We had gotten through my bullet points, but 80% of that call was me talking about what's going on in my life. We did this, we sold that, we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. We're excited about that next year, this. And I was like, how did he do that? I have not talked to him for a whole year, but in those 20 minutes, 80% of that was just me talking about what's happening in my world. And I hung up and I was like, he really heard me. He really gets me. He really understands what I'm all about. And that's when I really walked away from that. I was like, I need to shut up more of the time on these calls. I just need to just answer the questions and then just keep asking the things that are going to make them feel heard. And I think that's how you leave a phone call, knowing that you have left them just feeling a little bit better, because maybe they need a word of encouragement, or I remember when my kid had that happen in soccer or whatever, right? But just make your clients talk. And then it's not about you. Like you said, it's not about us. It's not about me. It's about the client, and giving them the space to just have a little chat and say whatever is going on in their world. So.
No, I think every agent can relate to that, where you just have that client who just needs to talk to you for 30 minutes every day. And it's just a ramble, and it might be about the school drop off or the traffic or whatever. And maybe there's 1 or 2 points about the house that you're trying to list, but they got it off their chest. They feel comfortable and they feel heard, like you said. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad I could be here for you. And, we'll let you know if there's any updates, kind of thing.
I think they just want to be heard. They just want to know you care and they want to feel heard. We just got to remind them that we're all on the same team.
It's definitely much easier to be that listening party when you're under contract on something, and it's not, hey, I've been listening to you for 2 years and we haven't put an offer on anything yet. So it's a delicate balance, kind of thing. And I get clients that say that all the time. That's like, Alan, you must be so frustrated with us. You've been working with us 2 years and we haven't pulled the trigger on anything. And I'm like, it's all balance, because as many as I have clients on this end of the spectrum, I also have clients who on multiple occasions have just said, hey, Alan, we haven't talked in a year, but I just went to an open house. I want to make an offer on this property. And it's like, oh, awesome. Like you celebrate the wins and losses and all balances out, kind of thing. So, those things happen as well. Have you, now we've analyzed this deal to death in that it's so creative. Have you been on the recipient end of any sort of really creative deals on your listings, Jennifer, in order to get a deal done, and some techniques that, or maybe you've done yourself that you'd like to share?
No, I'm trying to think.
Okay. There's no creative agents out there. I'm joking.
Everybody does kind of the same thing, and not to shut down. Like, when I've had multiple offers on other homes, I hate it because as an agent, I can see through those transactional agents really quickly, and I do kind of weed them out. I look for agents that take their clients seriously. I look for agents that have a relationship of trust with their clients, and but that's what I look for when I'm on the other end.
Yeah. So moving forward, next steps. We've got. What are you doing? So you're when you say you don't want to be that 40 million agent or whatever, you're comfortable with sort of your business. Do you do any sort of business planning or steps to kind of maintain? Or do you ever look back at what you've done the previous year and say what worked and what didn't work, or how do you approach your business? Is it
yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about that because in the 22 years I've had a business. It wasn't until about 3 years ago that I actually started writing out my business plan. And even though I don't attain it, because it's always very lofty, and don't get me wrong, I would love to do 40 and 50 million, and every year I do more and more. But if you don't write it out and have a goal, you're just floundering. And I raised 3 children over the past 20 years in this business. So that's one great thing about real estate. It ebbs and flows based on your schedule and what you're doing. My children they're all older now, so I can really focus on this. But, I absolutely have a business plan, but I work it backwards. I say, where do I want to be in 10 years? And what does that look like in 5 years, 3 years? I do have a big picture about where I want to be and how to get there. And I am growing my business. I am growing, building a team. But it's me trying to teach them that we are not transactional. They just want to run out there and grab business, and they want me to handle referrals. But I'm trying to teach them how to create their own referral business. And it's by calling people. They don't understand this is it. This is all you need. We all have a phone full of.
You're holding the phone up for those listening. Yeah, that's all you need is the phone. Right? Yeah.
It's fun, but you have a phone full of people that know you and like you, and they say, in this business, you always hear people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So you've got the know and the like in your phones already. So just build those relationships and give them information that they want or that they need about where they live, and keep them updated on things.
So I would love to hear a little bit more about, I have, same as you, like, I've been in this for a couple decades, and my kids are grown now, but, I do remember those days when my son was just a little baby, and literally, like, I would have him swaddled around me, and I would be on phone calls with clients, kind of thing. So let's just talk about, a little bit about, being a mom in business, with 3 kids, I only have 2. So, Alan's got 3 kids, and he hasn't quite lost his mind yet, but he's got nice kids though. So talk to us a little bit about just what have you learned? I mean, you've been doing this balancing act for a couple decades. So give us some words of wisdom for say newer agents or women that are just getting, or even men getting into the business. There might be the primary caretakers for their kids. What can you tell us about balancing and boundaries?
You just hit the nail on the head with boundaries. If I could have learned 18 years ago that word and using that in my business, I would have gained a lot more respect. I would have gained a lot more trust. But, you're so desperate to make everyone happy and do everything for everyone. And I was always tired, always exhausted, unhappy kids, unhappy family, unhappy clients, because you can't do it all. But if you set your boundaries up early and there's a level of respect, you gain a lot of respect and a lot of trust from your clients, because then they know you're taking your business very seriously. And not to say that I will not take a call at 11 o'clock at night or 6 a.m., but I know at that point, because we have established boundaries, that if a call comes in at 11, that it's very important. You just can't sit on the phone and chat at 9 o'clock at night with your clients because they want to talk for no reason. And you can't let them unload on you. And you have to have the confidence to know when to let clients go. Not every client, it's not all about us getting every client out there. Sometimes, we have to really decide, do we want to work with that person? Because certain people will drain you of 5 other deals you could have done that would have been nice and easy and made people happy. But you've let this one client drag you through the mud for 6 months and you feel down about yourself. You just have to know when to cut people loose.
And I think that's super important lesson right there, is just learning how to setting boundaries with really difficult clients. We have all had difficult clients. And sometimes for me, like I will have we may be closing 30 transactions that month, but we have that one client who just spins out, and literally everybody on the team is just, it's so like, it's like a black hole that just like sucks everybody's energy and effort into it. And I'm not talking about doing a difficult deal. That's very, very different from dealing with an completely emotionally stressful client that just drains you. And I think that one of the things that we have learned in our business is early on to detect those clients. And when we notice that somebody's like, we've known them for 3 hours, they have already called 12 times and they're unhappy about A, B, C, or D day one, that's when we just kind of gently let go and we're like, hey, we may not be a good fit for each other. And we save everybody the drama.
Yeah, I agree. You have to.
I think you nailed it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a difficult deal. It made me think of the client that I fired. It was actually a fairly easy deal. He had found the house on his own, and he wanted me to write up an offer for it. And this was a $2 million house, so it's this is the top of our budget in Atlanta. There's not a whole lot of deals, so I was like, well, this is great. He found the house and he knew exactly what he wanted me to write up the contract. And I wrote up the contract, and then he just was like, no, I want you to write it up this way. And I'm like, okay. And then I changed the language. It meant the same thing. And, English was his second language. But he wanted me to write it this way. And then he's like, no, I wanted to write it this way. And I said, why are you hiring me? Like I know how to write a contract. I do 50 of these, a year. And you're trying to teach me how to do my job. And he's like, well, no, you're doing it wrong. I also want you to, when you talk to the agent, I want you to say this. And then I want you to tell the agent that and this. And then when he responds, I want you to tell me what he says so I can tell you how to respond. And I'm like, I'm not even like, you don't trust me. I was like, I'm getting the feeling you don't trust me. And I don't want to work in that situation because I can't do my job because you think you can do your job better than me. And this is your second time ever buying a house as well. And he was offended by that. I thought I presented it in a nice way. And I was like, he's like, well, you're not happy with me, then I'm not happy with you. And I'm like, okay, well, good luck. you don't need me. And he left. I'm like, man, that would have been $60,000, which would have been kind of nice. But it was really messed me up for like 3 days. And I was like, man, it probably took 6 months out of my life. Like just the stress. And I'm like, I was offended and it was rude. And what Jennifer, you said, it bleeds away from my other deals. It definitely took away my energy on the 5 other deals I had going on. And just like you called out. And so, it was an easy deal, difficult client. And once we cut ways, it was just this, this weight off my back kind of thing. I just felt so much better. I could breathe so much better.
Yeah, and people need to think about, like this client, for example, he was taking away from your 5 other clients and draining you. But think about, he's draining you, putting you in a bad mood, a dark place. So then when you're talking to those other clients, maybe instead of them thinking, wow, Alan's the greatest, he's awesome, maybe they're starting to set in their mind, even though you're doing that deal for them, gosh, he sounds down. He doesn't seem like he appreciates me. Maybe you don't even realize that you just lost future referrals from them. So, yeah, you may have lost the 60,000, right, but you've really got to think bigger picture about everybody. And if you're letting people drain you, that affects your energy with other people. And you just want to always make sure that you have really good energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and I find myself like, with COVID, I have switched to doing online consultations, video consultations with my clients. I don't do them in person. And what I find fascinating about it is like, I tend to be super upbeat, super high energy. And sometimes that kind of startled my clients. We'll hop on a video and I'm like happy, I'm doing my thing. And they just logged on. It's 9 a.m. They haven't had their coffee. And I was like, oh my God, aren't you so excited? You found the best home in the neighborhood. And they're like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, no. You don't understand how difficult it is to get a house under contract in this market. And I find that's interesting because, sometimes you kind of have to be the one that reminds your clients like how to be, this is an exciting time. Yes, it's stressful. There is a lot going on, but this is also a really exciting time. So let's just shift our focus. It's not stressful. It's exciting. Not stressful. It's exciting. Yeah. So, but going back to our original conversation about being a mom, one thing that I have noticed with COVID over the past couple of years is that in general, everybody has become more accepting because everybody's working from home. It's become more acceptable to be both a parent and a business person and be a really good business person while parenting your 3-year-old that comes in the middle of a Zoom call, right? And I find that to be such a relief because for the longest time, I always felt like my clients think that I'm sitting at Bank of America in an office, right? And then my kid would run in and be like, mommy, where is the TV? And I would be like, oh my God, I'm mortified right now. But I find that with COVID, it's become like we are all so much more like we're multifaceted. We've got families and we're really good business people. And those two no longer seem to be such a clash. I mean, of course you don't want to be unprofessional. I mean, we get that, but it's just, there's a little bit more room for being both. And people respecting like, yeah, I've got 3 kids. It's going to be.
I completely agree. People do. I think everyone now realizes we're all real. We all, there was some video like when COVID first came out, it was like remember it was like on TikTok or a reel or something, but it's like this scientist, and like his little toddler came running in the room on national television. And, he was mortified and very upset, but I think he like gave people like you and I, like, we don't have to have two separate lives or 2 different personalities. It's like, it made it okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't make, occasionally I'll tell a client, hey, yeah, I know it's last minute. You want to go see this house. You just texted me. I can be there. I'm going to have to bring a cute 5-year-old assistant that likes to color pink. So she's going to be joining me, but I will be there. And I've never got any pushback or anything like that. If anything, it adds to the experience. And they usually have their own kids there. They're like, oh, great. She can play with my kids. And while we look at the house or whatever. Yeah, I would say pre-COVID, I would probably not do that. But now post-COVID, present COVID, it's acceptable, I think, because kids are home from schools or whatnot, and everyone has a life, and it's not going to stop you from being it doesn't take away from me being a real estate agent and touring a home.
Yeah, and it's also become so much more acceptable. Like when you are doing, for example, if you're doing a video tour or you're doing a video call with a client, it's just become it's become okay to be who you are.
Right.
Maybe you have your sweats on and you're out there showing them a tour of their house, of a new house, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be buttoned up every single time. And there's just a lot more. So I think that's one of the things that I feel like COVID has done good for us.
You have to be present. You have to be present and your full attention on them as much as possible. But yeah, if I'm waiting in line at a bus stop or something like that, I'll do a quick video call because I want to be present with you right now because this is urgent for you, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think it's learning, be present. You don't have to be perfect. Like Jasmine was saying, during COVID, I started doing more video showings, live walking through on my phone. And I've definitely proven to the two of you, I am not perfect with my technology. But, I walk through these homes and I'm showing them everything, and it's uncomfortable at first. But again, if you remove that thing, it's not about me. It's not how I look on camera. It's not how I'm sounding, my Southern accent coming out. This is about showing them the kitchen and the space in the pantry. You just do it. It's being present, not being perfect. Just get it done.
That's huge.
Well, I think that's an excellent point to end on. We appreciate you joining Agent Upgrade Podcast, Jennifer Waddy, Atlanta Fine Homes. If anyone wants to follow you, do you have social media channels or anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, absolutely. Just follow us on Instagram at Waddy Group or at Jen Waddy. Try to keep a lot of good information up there.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to doing more deals with you and drinking more, cocktails at the closing tables in the future.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade Podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.